All right, so we spend a lot of our time here at the Revenue Enabler working with sales organizations to help them implement and operationalize Medic or MEDDPICC, depending on what variation they go for. And one of the questions that we always receive is how do we actually implement this inside of our CRM? How do we reinforce it? And how do we make use of the data and the insights to inform better forecasting and improve sales effectiveness? So I wanted to put this quick video together on how we can do that, because if you think about the economy, think about the buyer's journey, it's complex. Deals are taking longer. There's more competing priorities across different stakeholders. Budget just isn't readily available now, so it's more like creating budget than aligning with it. So we just need to make sure that qualification's there, and this is going to really help us do that. So let's jump into this. So the first thing I wanted to talk to you about here, you can probably see on screen, is we've got this made-up deal. So imagine I'm selling MEDDPICC training to the PGA. I'm a golfer. Well, I try to be anyway. So I thought I'd use PGA in this dummy example. Top right corner, you can see my champion is Tiger Woods. He's the CRO over at the PGA. He's my champion, and we'll kind of get into that in just a second. So I've got this made up deal as an example. So one of the things I'd recommend doing is when we're actually using MEDDPICC inside of CRM is actually having a grouping of fields. So as you can see here, I'm using HubSpot. That's the CRM that we use here at the Revenue Enabler, but this works perfectly in Salesforce or in Pipedrive, or probably in most other CRMs these days. But what you can do is actually group fields. So like under this section here, I can have like a score, which I'm going to get into, and then I've got metrics, I've got economic buyer, decision criteria, so on and so forth, right? And then underneath every single one, we have, say, metrics, so I can put in the context, and then I have a score. So this is a text field, and this is a drop-down select. So, and they're color-coded almost like traffic light signals. So red is bad, amber is okay, green is great. Okay, and then you have like a scoring framework separately, which I'll get into. Okay, now what I would recommend doing when I'm using MEDDPICC inside of CRM, the first use case is with stage exit criteria. So if there's specific steps in a stage that we need to complete, there's information we need to confirm, qualify, test, whatever it might be, build those into your stage by stage exit criteria. So for me to go from stage 1 to stage 2, maybe I need to identify metrics, pain, and champions. Right, stage 2 to 3 might be decision criteria, decision process, so on and so forth. Right, you get the example there. So what I'm going to be thinking about doing is how do I actually build this into the stage by stage process, so that when reps move through the funnel, the sales process, we're making sure that we're aligning with the buyer's journey and we're not pushing deals further than they really are. The second thing I talk about doing is what I used to do with my teams a lot is when a specific field has been updated. So maybe like metrics has gone from a 1 to a 2, or we've got really good context inside of a field like this, I would have workflows send a Slack notification or a Microsoft Teams notification to my entire sales organization and marketing and customer success to inform and keep kind of driving that common language. This is great for reinforcement, so showing what other sellers are doing, showing what good looks like, celebrating those small wins to help reinforce that training and actually get maximum ROI from the training as well. And that's what we're going to really use to see great improvements in sales effectiveness and forecasting accuracy. The next thing I want to talk to you about is like dashboards and workflows. So there's risk in any deal, right? Until there's dry ink on the contract. So what I want to be doing is having a dashboard or maybe a workflow that's being configured that, let's say, for example, I don't know, a deal's closing this quarter, but when we actually look at the data, there's no decision process and no paper process. So how can we actually forecast that deal without knowing that information? It shows it on a dashboard. Or maybe a workflow sends the deal owner a Slack or a Teams notification that says, hey, you have this deal set to close on this date, but we should really know this and this, which you don't. Can you go and find that out? Go speak to your prospect, go speak to your champion, and please update CRM. So rather than you having to figure this out live on a forecast call, let technology take over and start to drive that for you, so that when you're on your forecasting call, it's more about, hey, how can we actually advance this deal? How do we actually move this deal to close one, rather than you as a sales leader doing discovery and trying to learn things about that deal on that call. Okay. Next thing is have reps update this 24 hours before your forecast. So let's say, for example, you're doing a forecast meeting on a Tuesday with your sales team. Have them update this section on a Monday morning. Now, I know there's sales tools out there that will actually update these fields for you. I'm not a huge fan of them. And the only reason being is I think because we're trying to automate so much, sellers aren't actually looking into the detail. So having them actually come in here and actually read and update some of this stuff, they become more self-aware. They start to actually look at the deal differently. Be like, as I'm typing this in, I'm realizing that I actually haven't tested my champion, or I actually don't really know what the economic buyer really cares about. Maybe I should go and find that out. So having them actually come in and update this is really important. And then I recommend doing it 24 hours before, so that when you're preparing for your forecast call with your teams, you can actually go into the next view, which I'm about to show you in just a second, and actually just run your eyes down and start to kind of look for the risk and then take some notes, maybe even ping those reps ahead of the call, but take some notes, and then you can use those as like conversation points in your forecasting call rather than doing the prep in the forecast call while you're doing discovery, which is not a good use of your time and everybody else's. So there's that as well. And then finally, having a view that looks like this. So I've got this like view here, MEDDPICC deal review and scores. I've just basically filtered it for one deal just for this test. Okay. And as I kind of scroll right to left, what I can see is like different fields. I've got the roll up score here, and I might actually, let's say there's 50 deals in here. I might A to Z this based on and say, hey, show me deals with the highest score or the lowest score. And then I might kind of scan through those first. But if I'm just kind of scrolling here from right to left, I'm looking at like, what's the score? What's the context? What's the score? What's the context? Maybe jumping into a quick Slack or a Teams call with a rep and asking for some more information. But what you can actually do now is if you hit export and rip these deals out of CRM into a CSV, I'd actually push that into a ChatGPT custom prompt. And I would say something like, hey, based on you being a MEDDPICC expert or a medic expert, depending on what variation you're using, here's 47 deals that my sales organization is forecasting to close this quarter. Can you review all of the context and information and the scores? And can you break down deal by deal why you think this deal will close, why you think this deal will slip, and what recommendations would you give? And that can make you build really fast, like coaching plans for your reps at a specific deal level, so that you can start to move deals through the funnel, but do it in a coaching way. So hope this was really helpful, but this is how I would use, or part of how I would use MEDDPICC. If you want to learn a little bit more about different ways that you can use MEDDPICC in your CRM to improve sales effectiveness, better forecasting, etc., reach out to us through the website. Hope this video was helpful. Look forward to seeing you in the next lesson soon.